Hi, my name is Famandradine Kim, and this is my series called What is Gender Revisited? This is a 7-part series examining in detail different aspects of gender. For parts 3 and 4, I wanted to continue to examine gender expression and biological sex. But because I'm eager to get to the last 3 parts, which examine the trickier subject of gender identity, and because I realised there wasn't actually much to say about body dysphoria or the mannerisms side of gender expression, these 2 videos are actually going to be really short, and so this month you'll be treated to 3 videos in the What is Gender Revisited series. So this is part 3, where I'll be looking at biological sex with regards to those who experience some form of body dysphoria. So, some people feel that there is something about their physical gender that just does not feel right to them, and can even cause distress to them. I do not have a lot of experience with this personally, although I possibly have some experience of this depending on how exactly you define physical dysphoria. And that's certainly something we'll get into. What counts as physical gender dysphoria and how it can vary. Firstly though, you need to understand a few things about physical dysphoria. The first is that it can exist completely independently of any social dysphoria or any need to express one's gender in a certain way. A favourite transgender writer and activist of mine, Julia Serrano, has said how she was always tomboyish and so did not struggle too much with boys' activities and dressing as a boy, but she always had that subconscious sense that she was supposed to be a girl, dreams in which she turned into a girl, or the sneaking suspicion that when boys and girls were supposed to line up separately at school, that someone would come along and tell her that she was in the wrong line. And this reference to childhood ties into another thing, that these feelings that your body is wrong can go way, way back to early childhood, and of course get even worse around the time of puberty. This is to be expected if the physical body is indeed the thing that seems wrong. That's not to say that a lot of trans people don't also experience social dysphoria or a desire to dress as the gender opposite to the one assigned at birth, but when many people want to complain that just because you want to look feminine, or masculine in the case of trans men, and do stereotypically feminine or masculine things, does not mean that you need to change your physical sex. Usually this sentiment also heavily implies that the trans person should stop reinforcing gender stereotypes, or that they are mistaken or confused by the stereotypes that they've internalized from society. But physical dysphoria is not always accompanied by a desire to be stereotypical, so it probably is a thing in its own right, and not necessarily connected to those other things. It is my belief that if this feeling is present from very early in childhood, and is not necessarily connected to any other aspect of gender, then it probably really is a sign the brain is wired so as to expect a body corresponding to the opposite gender. Brains clearly have body maps. They expect our bodies to be a certain way, and that is an important part of the way our brains function. If the brain develops an opposite gender than the way the body develops, then the result will be someone who feels their body is gendered the wrong way, i.e. physical gender dysphoria. The science seems to suggest this, and just because I don't know what it feels like to be at odds with or even actively dislike your own genitals, doesn't mean I can't recognise that this is the way other people feel, and that it's an authentic, unshakable feeling they've had from day one. The evidence seems to suggest that that's how it works. But although I do not suffer from physical dysphoria about my genitals, although I do have the weird wouldn't matter to me if they changed to female ones either feeling, I do also recognise that physical dysphoria is not only restricted to feelings about one's genitals. There are various ways in which our bodies are gendered after all. Genitals is one thing, but there is also how you feel about your chest, how you feel about body fat distribution, how you feel about how hairy or not you are, how you feel about the pitch of your voice, how you feel about your facial features, and even how you feel about your body odour. Obviously, no one is especially keen on their body odour, but does the fact that I prefer female deodorant to male deodorant mean that I would rather smell like a female than like a male? I don't know. And dysphoria can be an intense dislike and distress over your body, or it could potentially be more subtle than that. Just a vague kind of sense that the body is not right. It seems weird and odd to you, or just doesn't fit how you feel it should be. Whether the feelings are intense enough, troubling or distressing enough to need to seek hormones or surgery to correct it is of course an individual choice. But you might feel okay about your genitals, but weird about your chest, for example. You might feel okay about your chest, but really depressed about how masculine your face looks. Not liking your body hair seems like a cosmetic issue. It's a simple matter of removing it by shaving or with creams or wax, after all. But what if I told you that although I'm fairly in tune with and okay with my genitals and have no particular desire to grow breasts, nevertheless anything that looks masculine about my body will tend to depress me and feel wrong to me. So I've never wanted to be fit and muscular. I wish that I didn't grow hair on my chin, because even the sign of stubble that still remains after shaving bothers me, and I used to say that I was always thankful that I didn't have a hairy chest, because if I did, I'd probably want to kill myself. I was in my early 20s at the time, and still referred to myself as a guy. Is that intense dislike of body hair also a form of physical dysphoria? For that matter, my chest has always seemed weird to me. I used to think I was self-conscious about being skinny. Later I thought I was self-conscious about putting on weight. But I've never liked my chest. It just looks wrong to me. But I don't want big boobs either. Small boobs, on the other hand, maybe. For me personally, the feelings I have about my body are not distressing enough to seek surgery or hormones over. I'm in tune enough with the functioning of my sexual organs to not want to do anything drastic to my body that would affect that, e.g. hormones. And any form of surgery is way too scary, irreversible and expensive to even consider. Wanting a more feminine face or less body hair can largely be fixed with cosmetics and hair removal. And my weird feelings about my chest are not distressing enough that it interferes with my life at all. But possibly these are evidence that even genderqueer people can have some body dysphoria, even if it is a mixed bag and not ultimately fixable. Although that too will vary from one non-binary person to another. Some non-binary people do transition, after all. People do experience body dysphoria, and it's not something that psychological therapy or insisting that people don't have to be stereotypes can just spirit away. It doesn't just go away with words. And giving people more hormones of the type that fits their assigned gender, as some people ridiculously suggest, will only make the person more dysphoric, not less. Besides, too much testosterone can be dangerous. And if you make me more masculine looking, then it may well push me towards wanting to kill myself. Physical dysphoria is real, and it doesn't go away. Some people need hormones and/or surgery to feel comfortable in their own skin. Have some compassion. Thanks for watching.